The world is full of amazing engineering feats, with most structures being created to near perfection by architects all across the world. Like most other elite career disciplines, architects are considered some of the most widely recognized and highly esteemed, alongside those such as doctors and lawyers. Their reputation as the best in their area stems from their need to be near perfect in their work, with minimal space for error. Any blunder by an architect could result in tragedy, both financially and in terms of human life. It's not unheard of for a bolt to be off by less than half an inch, causing a whole bridge to collapse, or for a measurement to be incorrect, causing a structure to collapse. Mistakes like these, while apparently little to the untrained eye, can have disastrous consequences. Want to know more about this disastrous construction? Keep watching this video. Welcome to Construction Technique. In today's video, we are going to share with you top 10 most expensive construction mistakes in the world. But before we make it to the video, hit the subscribe button and turn on the notifications to get notified whenever we upload a new video. It is critical for architects to strive for perfection because they hold many people's lives in their hands. The regrettable reality is that mistakes happen in this profession just like they do in any other. However, when they occur in this domain, the tragedy might be tenfold because businesses, bridges, and other structures are used by people at a time. Here are 10 of history's most egregious construction errors. Number 10. Aon Center, Chicago. The third tallest skyscraper in Chicago is also one of its most historic and popular structures, having been hailed as a wonder when it first opened its doors to the public nearly half a century ago. Despite the fact that it was first hailed as an architectural triumph, it was also plagued by a number of major problems that proved to be extremely costly. When designing the Aon Center, the architect chose to cover the entire buildings outside with Italian Carrara marble, which gave the structure a magnificent and distinct outer appearance. Although this was taken into consideration, it did not account for the fact that this material is extremely thin, which finally led in massive slabs of marble detaching and smashing onto the adjacent structure. The entire structure had to be resurfaced with granite, which was a more appropriate material at the time, and this turned out to be an $80 million blunder in the end. Number 9. Leaning Tower of Pisa. Despite the fact that the Leaning Tower of Pisa is regarded one of the modern wonders of the world and that it attracts millions of visitors each year who come to take photos with the leaning structure, the structure is actually a terribly defective design. The failure of the architecture is also one of the primary reasons for its enormous popular appeal. The tower's base, which was constructed of clay, has sagged since the tower's construction hundreds of years ago, making it one of the most catastrophic engineering failures in history. However, the vast amount of tourism it has attracted has turned this failure into a historic triumph. Number 8. Citigroup Center, New York. There was no space when the Citigroup Center building in New York City was completed in 1970. Therefore, the architect decided to build over St. Peter's Lutheran Church, which was on the site at the time. The 915-foot tower was essentially built on stilts to dangle over the church in order to do this. Most people can tell right away that this design is seriously defective, but developers persisted, eventually constructing a tower that was vulnerable to collapsing over at the first hint of a strong storm or hurricane. In actuality, officials estimated that the structure would be demolished within 16 years of its construction. The city kept this knowledge hidden from the public, embarking on a large project to remedy the design, eventually fixing Citigroup Center's engineering without New York City citizens knowing until years later after the fix was in place. Number 7. Brooklyn Bridge Park. The young Brooklyn Bridge Park is one of New York City's most beloved parks since its creation not too long ago. It's been a major hit with the local residents of Brooklyn, but it wasn't always considered a success. When it was first constructed, a major oversight resulted in a backlash by parkgoers. The architects didn't entirely think through the actual use of the park when they built the playground out of steel, which resulted in the equipment heating up to triple digits during the summer, putting the children in serious danger. Thankfully, corrections have been made since after an enormous number of complaints. Number 6. KEMPER Arena, Kansas City. KEMPER Arena, which hosted sports and other events in the late 1970s and won the city's citizens over with its distinctive appearance, was Kansas City's primary stadium. The roof was hung in the air by massive trusses that were meant to slowly release water so that the surroundings were not swamped. Unfortunately, following a major storm in 1979, this design, combined with the accumulation of water, resulted in a massive pool of rain. The roof continued to sag over time and eventually crashed inward, causing a significant financial loss. Number 5. STATA Center. In recognition of his distinctive vision and inventiveness, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology chose architect Frank Gehry to create the Ray and Maria STATA Center, which is located on the campus of one of the world's most prominent colleges. When the building was finished, the angles of the structure left passers-by in wonder, and the walls appeared to be from another planet. Years after its completion, MIT had to file a lawsuit against the architect because the building was beset by difficulties such as drainage concerns, collapsing walls, cracks throughout the base, and more. The $300 million edifice was eventually recognized as a one-of-a-kind achievement, but it was also a costly miscalculation. Number 4. Millennium Dome, London. Another sporting stadium has been added to the list. However, this one is located on the other side of the planet in London. The Millennium Dome, which was built at the turn of the millennium, was a fitting name for the structure. According to the city's vision, the dome would be a comprehensive, cutting-edge sports facility with a cost in excess of $1 billion to build. Despite the fact that the edifice was not built poorly, it was widely seen as a colossal failure due to its inability to draw the crowds that it was designed to draw. Because of the negative response it received as a result of its ugly appearance, it barely attracted half the number of visitors expected in the first year. This is despite initial forecasts of 12 million visits. The amount of money invested to seal and reopen the dome was astronomical, totaling more than $40 million. Number 3. Buckingham Palace, London. Long considered the pinnacle of British society, Buckingham Palace is the most distinguished location in the capital. The palace has several hundred apartments, which is a sight to behold in and on its own right. Even though it is unlikely for something so gorgeous to be developed to have numerous faults, Buckingham Palace is not exempt from pitfalls of any kind. While still in its infancy during the early 1800s, the palace's kitchens were plagued by problems such as sewage flooding the rooms and inadequate ventilation. It required multiple teams of people to fully restore the enormous damage. Number 2. Sydney Opera House. The Sydney Opera House, one of the world's most iconic structures and sometimes referred to as the ideal music hall, has long been regarded as a structure that is practically faultless. However, the reality is that the acoustics have been slightly off for decades, with most people being completely unaware of it. Because of the switch, the Opera House and the stage shows were housed in separate halls than they had been initially intended. As a result, the acoustics were thrown off, making it impossible for musicians to hear the music they were performing. Plans for $200 million in improvements have now been announced, which will assist to improve the acoustics. Number 1. Mets Citi Field, New York. Mets Citi Field, the new home of New York City's second baseball team, cost over $1 billion to construct in 2009, replacing Shea Stadium. This was hailed as a significant upgrade over the previous stadium, and it raised expectations among Mets fans for a new beginning for their team, who had previously been a distant second to the world-famous Yankees. From the beginning, the stadium was beset by difficulties, including problems with the cooks, electrical shortages, breaking pipes, and falling posters and banners. As a result of the problems, lawsuits were filed and rework had to be conducted throughout the arena. Alright everyone, this brings us to the end of our video. Thanks for watching. More interesting videos are coming, and if you don't want to miss any of our videos, then smash the subscribe button and hit the bell icon so that you will always be updated.